What was the most disappointing, tourist-infested place you've ever been? I'm sure other cities have this problem, too, but there's an epidemic in NYC of pop-up museums that are essentially just Instagram backgrounds. There are some great temporary exhibits in the city all the time that genuinely have cool artwork, or historical items, or just make for a neat experience. And then there's ones that just have a bunch of backdrops for people to pose in front of and maybe a placard. Special shout out to the Museum of Candy that was hosted in a random warehouse and where you didn't even get any candy with your ticket admission. This is an epidemic in many big cities. It is a huge scam, and I don't understand how it's not getting more attention. There are a few shady companies. Fever is a big one, that put on these immersive experiences that are essentially projections on a wall in a crappy warehouse. They charge an arm and a leg, and there are stories of the company never giving a location of the event and people lose their money. The whole thing is really, really weird. I would link stories, but I am on my phone. Try Googling Fever Immersive Experience Scams, and articles should come up. Nassau, Bahamas. It was like being in a very expensive prison. My grandpa was born and raised in the Bahamas. We used to visit periodically to see a gang of old lady relatives who lived in Nassau, starting in the 1970s. There used to be a nice old-fashioned island feel to the place, lovely old shops and awesome quiet beaches. Once they built Atlantis and all the cruise ships started dumping people in town, everything started looking like a crappy strip mall and everything fell apart. Now it's dangerous and horrible and all the Bahamians hate all the tourists and can't be bothered. Prices they charge you for the quality you get is downright criminal, looking at you Atlantis. The room with the Mona Lisa in it. Couldn't get anywhere near it, and it's not that big of a painting to see from the back of the room when all the people in front of you had giant cameras. Maybe it's better in the age of cell phone cameras. But I doubt it. Edited to add, I am so excited many of you agree with me. I saw the Mona Lisa when I was 18 back in 2005, and many other pieces in the Louvre partly led to my getting a degree in the history of art. But, damn, that was a crowded room. So specific and so correct. I was just telling my brother how crowded that room is, and the Palace of Versailles tour was like one long shuffling queue. I fully acknowledge that I'll sound like an asshole for this, but for my 40th birthday last month we stayed 2 nights in the hotel on the grounds of Versailles, and part of the experience is an after-hours/behind-the-scenes tour of the palace, with just us and a guide. It was amazing. Every cruise ship port in the Caribbean. A coworker had a cruise rerouted from its original itinerary to the Bahamas because of a hurricane. He was pretty upset and called the Bahamas the McDonald's of the Caribbean. I don't even get off the ship anymore in Nassau. I just enjoy the opportunity to have a mostly empty ship and drink cocktail after cocktail on the pool deck and enjoy the scenery of the clear blue waters around the ship. The port at Nassau is overrun with pushy vendors, scammers, and shady characters, and the Bahamian government needs to do something about it. Because it's gotten a lot worse and it has to be hurting the bottom line since Nassau has gained quite a lousy reputation recently. Other ports will have this to a degree too, but it's nothing like Nassau. The Leaning Tower of Pisa. A field of tourists trying to take a picture of the tower without other tourists in it, and souvenir shops trying to sell those tourist stuff. I remember a group of young Chinese tourists taking their time going through the souvenir items. One of them looked at me apologetically, "We don't want to bring home something made from home." When it was my turn to look at the key chains in particular, indeed, the souvenirs are made in China. See that a lot with the Chinese nationals that come to shop the huge outlet malls in California. My SL will come over with my brother and they'll drop 20K in a day, then they'll buy a couple of large pieces of luggage. Pretty sure that's why there's always a luggage store at outlet malls. Fill them to bursting and fly back to China with the goods. Depending on the product, its value is heavily dependent on brand. Luxe brands are 2-3x expensive in China, but according to my brother, they can fund their entire trip plus some by doing this. They like to come over around Thanksgiving to catch Black Friday sales.